Welcome, everybody. We'll just be doing some coloring today. I have invited some friends, but like literally 2 seconds ago, and I didn't give them any notice. So maybe someone will show up, maybe not. If not, then we'll just hang out and color. Color in black and white, that is. Okay. And I think my sound is working, so. Here we go. Oh my goodness, that was fast. Can you hear me?
I can.
You can? I can hear you.
Yeah, we are alive.
We are live, yeah. Well, good to see you.
It's good to see you too. How do I look today? Am I ugly?
You look good to me. If I was gay, I would be really sorry. Start off on a bad note.
No, that's a compliment.
That's a compliment. Good. Well, I'll just try to jam through some coloring real fast while we're streaming.
Yeah,
Feel free to share your stuff too if you can.
I can. I think it will be inherently less interesting because it's what do you call it? Thumbing, but
okay.
Thumbnailing. But I think there's an audience for that, right?
Yeah, some people love seeing thumbnail processes. It's something I rarely show, so it might be. Some people might love it.
It's just I actually have some of your thumbnails.
Nice. Okay.
A buddy got it for me when you for Christmas when
you. He got some of my thumbnails. What? Like you mean the actual?
Yeah, physical copy thumbnails.
Oh, okay.
That you had done for. I want to say it was for Sithra.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember. I have to go grab them. I keep stuff like original art from artists.
Cool.
Since I had a kid, I put it all away.
I remember selling some thumbnails at a convention, but it was I think like one time I did it. And they're real cheap.
It was. Yeah, I'm almost positive. I'd have to go. I know it was like sketches or something, but it wasn't like final art.
Yeah. It'd be nice to actually have physical art. I guess I do still do thumbnails in my book on paper.
I like work 100% digital now.
Yeah.
But and obviously there's stuff that I miss, or there's stuff that I don't miss, right? Like, like getting to resize things, and just like I whack a button and it lets me, I can lasso stuff and like all the stuff that you take for granted, and then you get to a piece of paper again and you're like, I hate this.
I know.
But there is also stuff that I do for sure miss. Just like the tactile feel of everything, like I think, it's weird because I don't know if you've ever drawn on like Procreate on a tablet before.
I have, yeah. I did all the Enoch book on that.
That sucks. I hate it.
It was a learning curve, a big learning curve for me.
The brush lag is infuriating.
Yeah.
And Procreate is like, I love the company. I love everything that they like come out and say, and like they're clearly trying to put out a really quality product. So I don't have. This is maybe one of the few examples of like great people creating something I really hate, and I don't. It has nothing to do with them as people. It has everything to do with my own personal tastes. I fully hate it, and like the lag, I don't know.
I didn't have any. I didn't have any lag with it.
You see it in videos too, though. So like,
Oh.
I wouldn't be saying that as like an all-encompassing statement if I hadn't seen evidence of it everywhere else.
Yeah.
But like, if I like drew a line, it would have like, I mean, I don't know, lag is the best way to put it. It would just, it would be enough of a lag
Yeah.
that I wouldn't. And then like, part of the issue I had too was that my resolution on my tablet was low. So like, if I didn't really boost the like smoothing feature, what do other programs call it? I'm trying to think. Like stabilization, like line stabilization.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't boost that all the way up, it would turn all pixely or like jaggy,
Oh yeah.
and the lines would all be terrible. Every mark I would make was awful. So my options were like make it overly smooth and not actually the line that I was drawing, or make it all jagged and crazy and also not the line that I wanted to draw. So it's like,
Yeah.
and I finally found an alternate program to work on my iPad with, which worked a little better.
What program was that?
Medibang.
Oh, okay.
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Never heard of that.
It's like Clip Studio, but I want to say it used to be free. I don't know if it's free anymore. But
yeah,
years ago, before I could afford my own drawing program, that was what I used, and it was free, and it had everything basic that you needed to make a comic.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's all I need. I don't need to, it was like other things would be nice, but they're not a necessity.
Yeah.
And it's a great, presuming that it's still free, it's a great starting resource for people, I think, for comic creators.
I've never heard of it. But I'm spoiled. I've been spoiled with Photoshop since version 4 or something. Back in the late 90s.
Yeah, I notice you still use it, and that's like, full, you use whatever you want, but
I don't want to use it anymore. I prefer Clip Studio. Photoshop's really laggy really laggy for me when I'm drawing. It's just with Phobos, I've kind of built this set of tools with Photoshop that it takes more work to like figure out how to make it look the same in Clip Studio. So
yeah,
coloring's just easier for me in Photoshop. I don't think about it, whereas in Clip Studio I have to think about every step I'm making. So I don't know. I think once I get done with Phobos, I really want to just be done with it though, and just everything I'll just do in Clip Studio or something else after that. But we'll see, because I don't want to pay any more money to Adobe.
that was the biggest turnoff for me, was the subscription model. Like,
yeah.
Just the unattainability of it is such a wall,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not like eating bread and water, but I don't.
Yeah,
I also don't have the stupid amount of money that they think everybody should have.
Yeah, it adds up really fast.
Of all the people to overcharge,
yeah,
artists are probably the last one you want to do that to.
Yeah.
But then Clip Studio switched to a subscription model too. So
really, I know the iPad version was, but is the whole thing that way?
Yes and no. I will say the subscription's annoying and frustrating, but the way that they've done their model is so confusing. It's that's way bigger of a problem than anything else right now. Is just trying to figure out, okay, but how do I just have the thing?
Mm-hmm.
And I have not upgraded for the exact reason of it's way too confusing, and it's it's fine, whatever, but it's like you have to. I tried looking once, and I was like, I'm gonna put this off a little longer until there's like a sale or something.
Yeah.
But like it was like, okay, so you have version 1.0 right now, and there's multiple versions of Clip Studio 2s. So like,
Oh yeah, it's the 2.0 that's a subscription, right?
it's like now they're on 3.0, so it's like,
Oh, okay.
but then there's also like EX versus Pro versus Basic or something,
Okay.
and you're like, you guys have done too much. Somehow Adobe with their 50 programs is less confusing than what you guys have done here.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's too bad. Well, I am still very, very pleased with my version I have. So
it
I don't
works.
see a
The
reason
program itself works great. I don't have a problem with the program. It's the like dealing with the nonsense. And then like there's stuff internal too, but it's like anything that revolves around dealing directly with the company is problematic. Like
Okay.
if okay, so they have an asset store, which is really great, super helpful. The assets are awesome. You got like 3D objects you can directly import into your frames and like rotate around and put through automated filters that give you line art and shading and everything. It's like, and then there's like just like this community of sharing brushes and things,
Mm-hmm.
and all that's awesome. Some of it's free, and that's great, but some of it people sell for money. Except it has to be the asset store currency.
Do they have a meme token you have to use?
Oh man, I would freak out if that was the case. But
That'd be funny.
It's more confusing than that because it's like, well, maybe not. I don't know anything about crypto, but they've got two different in-app currencies,
Okay.
and neither is real money.
That's annoying. Yeah. Okay.
And you have to use one to get a subscription and then the subscription gives you the other one.
They're like gamifying subscriptions.
Except in annoying. A way that's so like, again, it bars you. It's like, I don't want to do all this.
Yeah, just let me pay some money, get the thing so I can start working.
That's it too. It's not even that I don't want to pay the money. It's just that they've made it so convoluted that you're like, I can't do it. It's not too expensive. It's just dumb.
Yeah.
And whatever. I'm not mad about it.
I had no idea it went that direction.
It's whatever. I'm not mad. I'm fine. I'm not going to freak out. I suck at writing and drawing, dude. Why did I choose this job?
You're so self-deprecating every time you get on here.
I'm sorry.
That's great.
I have really... I joke with people I know. I have... what do you call it?
Imposter syndrome?
No. Well, I don't know. Yes, I guess. I don't know. I think you have to be praised to have imposter syndrome, right? Isn't like the point that there's like, oh yeah, I'm not actually.
I don't
I'm
think
not
you
actually
have to be praised.
No?
I think you can have it if you have gotten any sort of position where you don't feel like you're worthy of it, and then you just kind of sabotage yourself by saying, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I'm not as good as these other guys.
I guess. But that's just low self-esteem, right? Like, I think specifically imposter syndrome is like, you don't believe you deserve what you have.
Yeah. Wasn't that?
I don't. Kind of I have exactly what I deserve. I have a very low readership, and almost no fans. So I don't know. I look at my work and I go, yeah, that makes sense. I suck at this. Uh, Lissy, I'm sorry we've been ignoring you. You've been really reacting to the things I've been saying. Procreate is great for certain people. Totally agree. Some people exceed greatly with it. It's a me problem. I'm not calling Procreate a bad program. I'm saying I suck at it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's developed with the intention that each user is using the most top of the line hardware. I agree. It's definitely built that way, which is like, I don't know. I don't love that. That's not a great thing because it's like accessibility is a big deal, and not everybody can handle buying the newest thing, right?
Yeah.
So Clip Studio has a subscription model for always having the newest version. You can pay a one-time fee to have a previous version, essentially, then pay a one-time fee to upgrade. Okay, see, this is even in your simplified description. That sounds crazy confusing. So you have to buy it twice. You have to buy an old version, then pay to upgrade that old version to a newer version, then keep the subscription so that you have regular updates and support on your program.
Yeah, that sounds confusing.
To me, that sounds convoluted. Like, even if I get it, it's confused. It's like, why would you make it that complicated? Just ask me for a payment, or just do it the way everybody's done it for forever. Make a new version of your program every year, put a bunch of great new things on it, and make me excited to buy the new version. That's how it's always been, and it's worked great for a lot of people. I don't know.
Yeah, they just can't get near as many bucket loads of cash that way. The whole bucket loads of cash is very seductive for these companies.
I don't know. It's a bummer to think that like, it makes sense. I'm not confused by it. I'm just bummed that so many companies are like this.
I hate the subscription models. It just makes me not want to do any of it anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, I'll go do something that's not going to force me onto this stupid subscription.
Right. But then it's not like Netflix, right? You go Netflix and you go, nah, I don't need it, and then you walk away.
Yeah, that's true. Photoshop, I feel like I'm constantly stuck with, or Adobe, I'm constantly just stuck with it, and it'd just be nice to not have to be forced to, or feel forced to be stuck with it, in order to just work a little faster and efficiently.
And they know that. That's why they changed it, right? And I think it's in combination with everything, right? They know they have the big suite, so that they're like, we know you rely on us, you know?
Yeah.
But I just saw, I don't know if you've seen this. He's an animator, so it's not exactly the same, but he has some alternate programs that work really well. Why am I talking to you like that? You're from DreamWorks. As if you don't have an interest in animation. Let me look for him. He just did this video where he's like, I quit Adobe and I finally made the transition to all these other alternate programs that don't suck.
Yeah.
In terms of payments and everything. I just spelled Adobe wrong. Yeah, How I Broke Up with Adobe by James Lee. I'll throw that in the chat here.
My problem is I know there's alternatives, but it's the speed of using the program that is, like a crutch, to where it's like I would really have to spend a long time getting to where I was as fast as I am with something like this Photoshop when it comes to coloring and stuff,
Oh yeah, well, but
and
that's kind of easy, right? Like, you just
change. I don't know. I've tried, and I did use Procreate for that reason. Like, I'm going to learn another thing so that I can quit Photoshop if I need to. And yeah, I was able to do the Book of Enoch, but I wasn't able to. It changed kind of the style that I was able to do because it's just different enough to where I don't use the same techniques,
Mhm.
And so I need to find something that I can use the same techniques without thinking about it too much. And that's my problem with it.
Yeah, and there's obvious somebody. Sorry again, we're not getting to all the comments here. Uh, somebody I just saw somebody in the chat said like mentioned the fill lasso tool, which does exist in Clip Studio, but the issue is finding the tools,
Yeah,
right? So like yes, in some cases the tool just doesn't exist in Clip Studio,
yeah,
and you're like, okay, I just have to say goodbye to some of the tools.
yeah,
But in some cases it exists. It's just where is it and
yeah,
how do you use it? And sometimes it's like, oh, the tool exists, but you have to change a bunch of settings for it to even work the same way. And like, yeah, I
yeah,
get it. There's a learning curve. What I
yeah.
meant when I said that's easy, what I was talking about is like the mindset part of it.
Oh,
Because
okay.
like yes, it's infuriating to have to do all of it. But if you think about it like if you have a investment mindset,
Mm-hmm.
not to sound like a business bro, but uh, if you think about it like, okay, yes, I'm going to spend more time on the front end, but later, like if you just think about while you're doing it, like, ooh, this is going to save me so much time later.
Yeah, and that's how I was. I say was like I've just given up on everything art related. That's how I was when I was like learning and in my 20s and like I'm gonna do all this as an investment and I'm like gonna get good at this and this and this. But then now it's just like you get good at something and then a new version comes out and it's different, or new software that you need to use is different. It just feels like you're constantly just going to technology school instead of just learning your craft now. And so
Mm-hmm.
it makes me kind of go, yeah, I would rather just draw on paper, you know, like
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with that crap. But at the end of the day, you always have to deal with it because in order to get it in front of people, you're always going to digitize things and use technology and services, and. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't I don't have an answer
I
other than it's frustrating.
You see plenty of people succeed without having to do. But I don't like to talk in absolutes, uh, or at least I don't like to think that way. Sometimes
Yeah,
I'll let slip something, but like truth be told, I don't actually view the world that way. Everybody's different, and they have. You're gonna find the thing that works best for you.
yeah,
Um, and like I don't know, as long as you're not accidentally getting left behind in some way,
yeah,
like I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a good difference, right, or a good example of a difference, right? Like somebody goes because you heard for a while there, oh, comics is dead, and at that same time, webtoons was like becoming huge,
yeah,
or like it was starting to kick off into something huge, and you just have to realize like, well, no, it's just that paper comics are struggling
yeah,
and that it's changing. It's not that it's dead or it's dying, it's that it's changing. And then even
yeah,
then, some people were doing great with print. They just had to go through a Kickstarter like you, or
yeah.
I don't know,
And
find
like, oops, yeah. I hear you. I for me it's like how much do I want to adapt? Like where's the line? Do I at what point is it not the thing I wanted to do in the first place? And so it's like like people told me, oh, you should put your comics on TikTok. I'm like, okay, that's just a whole nother thing now. I'm making little motion comics and trying to get a different kind of audience than anything that I've ever been interested in getting. But
yeah.
yes, it would be successful, and there's a whole new wave of creators doing that, you know. But do I want that for me? I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, it's way you say it, right? Like it's not you should,
Yeah.
it's that you could.
Yeah.
Like I try really hard, and I fail sometimes, but I try really hard when I'm giving quote unquote advice to people,
Mm-hmm.
as like try to say could instead of should. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I do think that this would be good for you, but you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
There are other ways for you to succeed. And
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know.
Yeah, a big part of, especially doing your own thing is having fun with it. So if you're having fun with it, like it's going to evolve, it's going to change. You'll learn new tools, you'll adapt.
Yeah.
As long as the end result is you're having fun with it and it produces a good product, I think then it's good. It's okay. Like it's comics is so different than when I got into it. And honestly, I wouldn't want to be doing comics like I was trying to do in the 90s, when I was trying to get in as a teenager. I
Right.
wouldn't be interested in that. I don't want to do the Blue Line Pro big pages and all this detail like Jim Lee and stuff. It's not
Mm-hmm.
it's not what I'm really into right now. So I've definitely changed based on the different art jobs I've had and learning different tools. It's like I feel like I'm really forging a path that's unique to what I enjoy. So anyway, hold on one second. I need to see what Joy wanted real quick.
Ooh, I gotta be the entertainer. Let's see, I can read some comments. Some discussion about Clip Studio. I regret updating from V1 to V2 mainly because I'm restricted to one installation. I didn't hear about that. Yeah. I've had my copy since it wasn't called Clip Studio, it was called Manga something. I don't remember. Manga Studio, look at that. Another comment. It is. I agree. It is definitely the best program for making comics. I think having like the panel solely along with like stuff like the panel. My brain. The panel tool where it like creates a folder and a border and everything, and it's like that's automatic. I don't know. I love that, but also like other things like being able to put in 3D models, and even if it's just for reference, like having that right there that you can move it around and not have to learn Blender. I still did that. I still learned how to use Blender, but like the fact that you don't necessarily have to is great.
Okay, sorry. What were you talking about?
I'm just vamping. I was reading off comments just because I was like, oh no, can't have it be silent. But yeah, I saw somebody was like, oh yeah, if you upgrade to the newest version, then you only get one installation.
Huh.
And it used to be like,
Studio?
yeah,
Wow.
it used to be just like most programs, like you have 5 installations for, if you switch computers at some point or something.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know. I haven't gotten to that point with Clip Studio to where I have to change anything I'm doing, so I'll vent about it when that happens.
Again, it's not necessity. I think if the program fully stopped working because it wasn't getting updates anymore, I think that would be different. But I don't know. It's fine. Whatever. I'm not going to cry about it.
Yeah, that's the title of my stream. Stop crying and start coloring.
Oh, great. I love being on theme. Let's see.
See that? It looks good. It was a good title. I did it for myself.
It's the you gotta push yourself. What is it? Stephen McCrane?
I'm not looking at the comments either. Sorry.
Why do I not know that name off the top of my head?
Oh, Space Boy.
Space Boy, of course.
There's Jim. Welcome, Jim. And Lizzie. And the Dawn. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm trying to be entertaining and also not be annoying and interrupt you when you're doing stuff. That's a difficult balance.
You can interrupt me. That's okay. Man, sorry guys, I'm not paying much attention to the comments. If you have a pressing question, write question in all caps, and then when we dig through the comments, I'll see it quickly.
Everybody knows.
So
I mean, not that we want to ignore the chat completely, but people know. You're not going to be able to read every single one. It's the age of streamers. You know, everybody already.
Yeah.
The Clip Studio modeling tool. That is one aspect that fully and 100% sucks.
Really?
Absolutely.
I haven't tried. I've tried the 3D models a little bit, and it was just too hard to get them to be the poses I wanted and stuff. And so I was like, well,
they're good. They're good for us. Again, it's just like anything else. It's a tool you can use. I don't think you should lean on it necessarily, but
yeah.
Like if you're just like, I want to see what this would look like in this way, or I have a deadline.
Yeah.
Let me just
yeah.
just put that right there.
For me, it was just like, I cannot get this pose right. Let me just see if this 3D pose tool can help me get there faster.
No, but
I don't know if I got there faster, but I got there.
Well, that's the speed is a lot of like not redoing the same thing 50 times.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, I can't do this pose today, so I'm just going to get out the thing. I can't not do the drawing. I have stuff to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly I use it for objects and settings.
Okay.
Because it's like the right. I have way too complex of settings. And I don't know how to say enough is enough.
Yeah. And
so I just go, okay, well, I guess I'll just build the whole thing in Blender. And Clip Studio is nice in the way that it can handle like singular objects or like people, like a couple of people. But the moment you exceed a certain amount, it is so slow. It chugs like crazy. And it's clearly because it was optimized for other stuff, not for this. But like here, I can show you what I've got going for one of my settings here.
Let me get you on screen. Bling. Okay.
So
you're putting texture and you're building whole 3D worlds. Okay. No wonder.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that crazy, but it's like, here, where's the camera? I got to get that thing out of I buried it on accident. But there's a tool that I can use where if I like look through the camera, I can render it. I can render the line art. So if I go, so I can just get the line art, right? And then if I want to, I can flip the line art off and go to, just get the coloring, and I can turn off, let's see here. Where am I? Oh, come on. Where is it? Studio? No? What? Oh, I can't find what I'm looking for. Whatever.
Well, it seems like there's a lot of options you could... I can see how you could kind of get anything you want out of it.
Yeah. Oh. No, all right, whatever.
But
Forget
it would waste a lot of my time because
Yeah,
it's like the more options I have, it's like it seems like the slower I go. You know?
but if the brain the part of the brain I'm using is, or the part of the process, like thought process I'm thinking, I can't talk, dude. The way I think about it is that if I throw this, if I can either sit there and try to fiddle with a texture, like skewing a texture on a drawing,
Mm-hmm.
or I can just drag and drop bricks onto this model that I already made
Yeah.
once, and then I don't have to ever worry about it again.
Yeah.
The only downside, and it's obvious for anybody who's thinking about it, is just that the personality's kind of gone.
Yeah.
I'm no longer the one putting the strokes down, and there is some of that I have to reckon with. But it's also like, again, it's deadlines, and I try to find as many ways as I can to put my personality into it, despite that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I can't. I can't win it all. I have to know that there are limitations to it. But like, I can take solace in the fact that I made this. I didn't
Yeah.
download this 3D model. I made it, and
Yeah.
took photo reference of a building that's near my house and made it real.
Yeah.
And like, again, it's not perfect, but it's enough, I guess. I don't know. But like, I also have to acknowledge that I didn't spend a ton of time doing drafting practice. I've spent most of my time learning anatomy and character work.
Yeah.
And I have to be able to say when I suck at something.
Yeah.
And people have been tracing for forever,
Yeah.
So I don't know. We all have to be.
Yeah. Deadlines. It changes everything.
Yes.
Sorry. That's my computer.
It's all good.
I'm so sorry.
Well, it's all right. We all hate you. And
I'm leaving.
where is it? This one. No. Forgive me, everyone looking at my screen where nothing is happening. I'm looking for my script and I can't find it.
Here, I'll switch back to me, then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, thank you.
I thought people were watching my screen anyway, so I was putting unnecessary pressure on myself to perform. And no one was looking.
Pressure is great. I need more pressure in my life. I need people to look at me and go, "Why aren't you working?" Whenever you're writing for a story,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to writing for what? I don't know why I worded it that way. Whenever you're writing, do you feel like how much research do you do?
Oh, it depends on what I'm writing about. If it's something that's really outside of my knowledge, then I'll kind of like look at a lot of references or documentaries or something about a subject. But it's rare because most of the time I'm just kind of making up worlds,
Mm-hmm.
So, or I'll reference a film or comic that did a certain kind of tricky thing that I want to try to imitate. I might do that, but it wouldn't be like for, well, it might be for dialogue or something like that, but I think it's more rare that I'll spend a lot of time researching things.
I ask because I really like the idea of my I don't know what the right way to say this is. I like when like my science fiction is as nonfiction as possible.
Mm-hmm. Like Star Trek versus Star Wars or something, right? Where you're getting all the technology just right.
Yeah,
Except
that's a pretty good way to put it.
Maybe the old Star Trek. I don't know how the new Star Trek is. Sounds like it's getting pretty.
No, it's a good comparison though, because I think I like the flashiness of Star Wars, but I like the approach to the scientific aspect of things.
Yeah.
The way Star Trek does it.
Yeah.
I don't love how boring Star Trek can be. And I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to start any fights with Trekkies because I don't think the show's bad. It's just you sign up for watching Star Trek, you get Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
I think if you walk into Star Trek expecting it to be Star Wars, you're a fool. But I think preference wise, I would rather have my stuff be more like the tone of Star Wars and the science of Star Trek. I don't know. I'm not sure I know what I'm even talking about.
I think it makes sense. I'm not as much into that side of things. Like I do. There were some Star Treks. I love the Next Generation Star Trek as growing up and stuff, and a lot of the Star Trek movies and stuff. And I love that side of it. But yeah, it's like the older Star Wars growing up was way more fascinating to me, even though it wasn't based on anything real.
Yeah, and
so I favor that. I think
it went on vibes, right?
Yeah.
Nobody cared, and and I stand by this. As long as the internal logic makes sense, then who gives a crap about the rest of it? But I do like science, and
yeah.
And right now I'm doing like my series has a lot of quantum physics in it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess the better way to say that is it has a lot of potential for quantum physics.
Yeah.
I am not a scientist, and I don't know the math of all of it, which is like what you need to know what the heck's even going on in those discussions. So I'm like on r/ask physics going like, hey guys, what is this? Am I out in left field here? Is this possible? And like people going like, no, not remotely.
No, not possible.
And I'm like, okay, but why? Tell me why it's not possible. Because that's really where I'm like trying to twist it, is go like, I don't want to get stuck in going like, well, it's not possible, so that means I can't put it in there.
Yeah.
Then I shouldn't do science fiction. I don't know why. But more what I'm thinking is like, if I what am I trying to say? If I know why it's not there or why it's not possible, then I can at least say to myself, like, acknowledge it in the story.
Yeah.
It's probably just because I'm so lazy that I don't want to think up my own story or my own like not story, my own logic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the science already exists. So if I just go off of that, I don't have to worry about the rest of it. If I just base it off of something that's already there. It's a terrible reason to. I don't think that's actually why I did it.
I have an idea that would possibly be for a new comic if I ever get to it. Like I never finished Phobos. That's very, very sciency, and it could be something I could go down a rabbit hole like that. But I'm definitely not going to do that. I'm going to just I'm just going to make it up, and then if I run into problems, I can explain it. Explain it with a short sentence. Well, we flipped the switch that makes a parallel universe more of a, have trees grow on it.
Mm-hmm. It's okay, but that's the thing. If you get into something that's like been touched 1,000 times,
yeah,
then you have to kind of like find a new angle on it.
Yeah, like time travel or something, which is kind of, you got to kind of fit it into certain molds that have been established, or really kind of reinvent it. Somehow.
Time travel or multiversity now, or like, because you're like, okay, if you were a comic nerd, multiverse stuff has been done a lot, right?
Yeah.
But if you just and it used to be like, oh, but if you talked about the general populace, nobody really knew.
Yeah.
But now with Marvel and DC, it's like, okay, now everybody knows.
Yeah.
And I think I'm still good. I don't know. You know what's funny is I did so much research on multiverse theory and like how it's supposed to work that now when I watch multiverse stuff, I get angry because I'm like, that's not how it works.
That's inaccurate.
Stop.
That's not the science.
Stop saying dimension. That's not what that means. I get so mad when people use the word dimension. Like, we're going to another dimension. No, you're not. You're not.
Are you going to the second dimension?
We all know what the word dimension is, and yet somehow when somebody says I'm going to another dimension, your brain switches it. You don't. It's like, I don't know. Like, I mean, okay, so to defend myself, I'm not actually doing a multiverse story. I am and I'm not. The existence of the multiverse is kind of tangential. It's really more about dimensions, and I don't know if anybody at all cares about this. Well, I guess they should. I should hope that I can make people care, since that's what my story's about. But essentially, the science behind, or the way I'm using the science, is talking about like the broader I guess you call it dimensional studies, but like the idea that the first 3 dimensions are spatial.
Mm-hmm.
Then the 4th dimension would be time, right?
Yeah.
But there's about an estimated 10 or 11 dimensions in total.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a 4th spatial dimension, or you have additional time dimensions, so like technically speaking, I would consider us to be 4-dimensional beings, since we experience time in a linear fashion. People would say, I think a lot of people would say that we are 3-dimensional, and that's not true. Since we're 4-dimensional, because we have that experience of time. And then a 5th-dimensional being would be something that like can move backward and forward through that time.
Yeah.
And then the more dimensions you have, the more outwardly you can expand and move and exist. So you can exist within multiple universes at once, or you can So like the multiverse thing exists within that parameter, but nobody ever travels to any other alternate universes in my story. It's sort of tangential. I don't know. I'm hoping desperately that no one's gonna like look at it and go, "Oh, great, another multiverse story," you know? Because like I wrote,
I think as long as you do it in a unique way, your own way, like I love time travel movies. I don't care if there's already been a lot of them. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So I am kind of I have I think multiverse in my mind has been worn out because of the Marvel multiverse stuff. But but if it's someone does it a unique way, because I mean I have a multiverse idea, but I don't think it's the same at all. It's kind of like a anti-multiverse movie idea, So I don't know if I don't think it matters as long as it's done uniquely.
yeah.
As long as you're not just riding on the coattails of all the other multiverse things. They have a multiverse, so I will too.
Yeah, I don't really have any interest in that. I want to think about, and also like they're doing in a very comic booky way too, where it's like when you move to another universe, Spider-Man is a totally different Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if you thought about the real aspect of what multiversity is, it's like if you lined up 1,000 of you from different universes all in a row, you might all look pretty much exactly the same. And like the differences between your universes are so minute you wouldn't necessarily know to even ask what the difference was.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I find the other parts of it much more fascinating, right? Like the actual conceptual nature of it all, of like, so how do you visualize something like another spatial dimension?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the issue is that you can't really, but I'll do my best,
Yeah. Yeah.
I sit here in a slump and have the audacity to think, why am I so tired? And then I remember I've only eaten pancakes today. I had pancakes for breakfast, and then I went upstairs and I went, oh, my son left his unfinished plate of pancakes. I'll eat those too. That was my lunch. And I was like, why do I feel bad? You were talking about earlier how you were like, you're feeling your age a little bit because you're like, oh, when I was a younger man, I would have spent more time investing in my future.
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting here like, I guess I am old now. Older, anyway. My learning about people in my life who are having kids, and I'm like, but you're a kid.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's exactly how people thought of me.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's not like my kid's 25 or something. It's I haven't been a dad that long, but
Yeah.
where is it? I found it.
What am I doing? Oh. Let me look at the chat real quick. The chat. I don't see any big questions in bold, so.
Look, the exact response I was hoping not to get. At this point, I feel like it's more exciting not to do a multiverse story. They feel like a cop out now. Don't worry, Lizzie, I'm not hurt. That's definitely not gonna mess with me. I'm not gonna shut the stream off, go and sit in my bed and cry. Everything's fine. It's not like it's way too late for me to make any changes.
How long has your comic been on Webtoons now?
I don't know, man. I keep taking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I keep taking hiatus because I'm like bad at time management. So
yeah, I didn't realize it had launched, so that's why I asked.
October.
It was on October.
Okay. Of this last year.
Okay.
So not long.
I'll have to check
it
out.
Long enough for me to feel bad about the breaks I'm taking.
Well, I've been updating Phobos on there. I was like really adamant about having a schedule and doing it every Monday for a while, and then it's just like no one seemed to care. So I was like, I'll get to it when I get to it. I still want to update it and put it all on there eventually. But
do you think that hurts you to do that?
I don't know.
Like all of it, I mean. Like I think the first couple episodes make sense as like a building the excitement kind of thing.
That's what I was gonna only do, is just the first couple episodes. But it just seems like it's not enough to really give people an idea of what Phobos is about. And so I kept putting stuff on there. And there's a part of me that thinks of it kind of like how I put all Remind and all Cithra online, and it as a way for people to consume it, and then you sell to the collectors later. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking with Webtoons. It's just where a lot of comics and comic readers are right now. And so I don't have a whole lot of faith that it will become a popular thing on Webtoons, but I think it might introduce it to a few people that become fans, or maybe a studio who likes it or something like that. So it's just right now Phobos is so hidden, and it's my fault because I've only like really released it on Patreon, and then I never put an ISBN on the book on purpose so that it wouldn't be out there online. You can't get it on Amazon or anything. And that was a deliberate choice to do that. It was kind of because I wanted to test it. But now, I'm deciding I'm going to finish it. I'm going to make this whole book, and I am so going forward. I just need to kind of present it to people and make it more accessible. And so, and I do have a publishing deal that's in the works for Phobos too. So I will probably do a Kickstarter for a hardcover book for Volume 2, but then I'll also have the publisher do the manga editions. At least that's kind of the idea right now. And so I think it'll just be a little different now because it'll be more accessible, And Webtoons will just be one of those ways that people can access it. Just like my blog, Remind blog is how people could access Remind, and then I still had it available as a book too,
Yeah. Should be careful about the way I say these things, because like that question was, I feel like I accidentally came off as like, I don't know, not accusatory, but like as if I was implying it definitely was a bad idea. It was a genuine question.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Everything's kind of like it's like what do you think's the best move? I don't know. I think this is, and I think this is. That's kind of how, making comics online is, I think. Mm-hmm. So
for sure.
My first moves with Remind, putting it online, that was a big decision to just go, I'm going to give it all away for free online. and I'll still try to figure out how to publish it and make money. Like everybody was against that kind of when I was doing it, but it turned out to be the smart move, you know. And but the internet's different now. It's a lot different. So I don't know what the smart move is for this next phase necessarily.
And like even like webtoons is different, right? Like
It is, yeah.
it's hard to know, and it's funny because like when I was younger, I didn't feel this way about things.
Yeah.
I would have this like haughty sort of attitude about my understanding of the zeitgeist and like how to operate within things.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, as weird as it sounds, I think I was right.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's because it was easier back then. I think it's because it was easier for me. Like my brain is different now. And I think it's more difficult for me to understand. I don't know. I've been trained on the wrong thing, I guess is the way to think about it. Like when somebody says to you, like, oh, put it on TikTok. If you hear that from a kid, that makes sense because they're like,
yeah, and that's what they would do as a kid, and they would do it successfly, probably.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is they'd totally be right. They'd be like, yeah, I put it on. Why aren't you putting it on? Yeah, why aren't you putting it on TikTok? And they do. And the issue is that I don't have as strong of a grip on the zeitgeist. I should stop saying that. I've said it twice, and that's too many times. But like, okay, like to put it in another way, when I was in high school and like a movie would do well, I would go, yeah, I liked that movie. Of course it did well. Or if it didn't do well, I'd go, exactly. And it's because of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it would never be surprising to me when something did well or didn't do well.
Yeah.
And now, as an adult, I'm like, okay, I don't understand why that did well. Why did people like that?
Yeah.
Am I old? And like, what was it called? Gosh darn it. Love and Thunder. What came before that? Thor.
Oh. The the Ragnarok one.
Yeah, thank you. Ragnarok sucked. That was a terrible movie. But it did really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why? Why does everybody like it? And then, as if to like gaslight me and make me feel insane, the world said Love and Thunder sucked. And I was like, what do you mean? They're the same movie. I felt crazy. I was like, what are you talking about?
I never did see the second one, so I don't.
It was the same. It sucked for all the same reasons. And I don't get, and like, it felt like the world collectively was like punking me because they were all saying the same things that I was saying about the first one. And I was like, stop it. You're all just bullying me. Yeah. Everyone got together. This is like some sort of conspiracy to make me feel like an idiot. And whatever, it's, and again, like I have the self-reflection to be like, okay, clearly I'm just out of the pool of normal people now.
Well, you have a kid, so that makes you not cool, and your opinions are very dad-like.
I don't know about that. I will fight that because my dad was always cool, and not just to me, right? I would get from my close friends, they'd be like, "Wow, your dad's cool," and then from my not close friends, they'd be like, "Why aren't you cool like your dad?" So, I think me being uncool has nothing to do with me being a dad. I was uncool before that.
My dad was more cool than me.
He was. Yeah. There are multiple reasons for that, but that I won't get into. But like, he was always cooler than me. High school, my dad was significantly cooler than high school me.
Yeah.
And I think he's happy with that. You know? Like, because, like, if you're cool in high school, there's certain decisions you make that don't.
That probably aren't good.
Yeah. And, like, gosh, I don't want to. It sounds like I'm blasting my dad, but, like, he's maybe the coolest guy I know. And I look up to him, you know? So, like, it's not. I'm not crapping on my dad at all.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like you are.
Good. I always worry when I talk about him that I'm like gonna say the wrong. I'm gonna word it incorrectly and make him look bad. All right, let's see. How many episodes of Phobos do you have up?
I don't remember. Not. It goes almost to the end of the book.
You got 27 up, dude. That's not bad.
Yeah. And there's a little audience there, so I don't mind. I mean, really, the reason I'm really putting it on there is because I want to be able to notify the ladies that have all bought the option rights for Sithra and want to say, hey, check out Phobos, because they've explicitly said, you know, we won't consider anything for movie options that aren't on our platform. And, you know, so I'm like, well, okay, I'll grow a little audience and do that, because they seem to really like my work, but I don't know if they're just, you know, telling me what I want to hear, so that I do things for them. So that's really the reason. I mean, I also think that's where everybody's at too. So I don't know if your sound went out or if you're just not talking.
Whoops, I muted myself because I was being annoying. You were trying to say stuff and I couldn't stop interjecting, so I was censoring myself.
I don't know, you know, again, I don't know if it's the right move or not for my stuff. I don't know if Phobos will ever find an audience there. I just know that teenagers really like Phobos, and I know that there's a lot of teenagers on there. So it's really about getting it past the right, you know, the right people at Webtoons to kind of push it a little more. Because if they don't care about it, then no one's ever going to see it, you know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I am. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just figure I'll try it. I'll just put it on there, and I mean, I can take it off after it's all done, after it's all on there, if it doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I think that is the smart way to do it. I do think that if either you or me were remotely intelligent, we would start finding a way to put our stuff on TikTok. But you're old and I'm getting there, so obviously that means we can't do anything like
that. The thing
is, I'm sorry for outright calling you old. Those jokes only work if the person laughs immediately.
I am almost 50. I'm going to be turning 50 this year.
That's not that bad.
So I feel like, wow. I don't feel like I'm that old, but like hearing that number makes me go, holy moly. Yeah, no wonder my opinions have shifted from the mainstream, you know, kid opinion out there. But I will say, you know, when I take breaks from working on a comic and I have other things going on, it gives me a lot of opportunities to figure out how to redistribute those old properties. And so I have considered TikTok, as long as I'm not, you know, actively making something new. I think it could work, you know. So let's say I finish Phobos this year. Maybe I'll have a time period where I'm like, okay, I really want to try TikTok now, and I'll try to just make them into these little clips, and just read it like I'm reading you know, narrating a novel or something, and I'll just put up you know, 20 episodes and see what happens. You know? So it's just, I can't do it while I'm working on the next book. That's the problem for me.
You got muffly there.
a different medium. I'm muffly.
I don't know. Maybe that was just for me, but
No,
all of a sudden you got muffly.
it's just a different medium, and so it's like trying to do animation while you're working on a graphic novel. It's like man, you got to put 100% of your time into either one of those options, and I think TikTok would be that for me. I did try
Yeah.
TikTok a little bit with cognitive drawing, just making little short videos,
Mm-hmm.
and it was, yeah, it did a couple views, it did a handful of views, but it just wasn't exciting, and so I'm like, I don't want to do this.
The way you talked about like I don't want to learn something new is that's how I feel about TikTok.
Yeah, well,
It's not
it's like,
because so you're not crazy for feeling that way, and I hope I didn't make you feel that
no,
like I thought that.
I just have to weigh it. Like, is this
Mhm.
really going? I've tried a lot of things in my life, and most of them are a waste of time. And so you have to always make a decision. What's going to become a bigger waste of time than something else? It's like the 80/20 rule. Like, what should I focus on that's going to bring in 80% of the results? And I don't think that would be one of them. So, and you kind of learn what your strengths and weaknesses are too, and so you can kind of adapt to what you're good at. So that's the way I look at it. If I thought TikTok was going to be the winner for me, and I was like, oh, that's just a no-brainer, then I think I would stop doing certain things in my life so that I can focus that time on TikTok, right? But I don't have that feeling that it's going to be the thing that solves problems for me.
Yes, and I don't know. I just want to not suck. I want everyone to love me, and I have a desperate desire to be loved. And if they don't love me, then what's the point of living? Am I right?
I
Sorry.
think you're trying to get out of comics what you would get out of family and personal relationships. So you can't.
No, it's combination. It's combination because like I love drawing, and I probably would still do it regardless of if anybody saw it. But I also desperately need everybody to love me for everything I ever do. So if I if I know someone knows about me, then I need them to love me.
Yeah.
And if they know about me for only one thing, then that one thing better be great. But I'm not good enough for that to like make any sense.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
That viewpoint doesn't work because I'm too whatever. I've already said what I'm.
Let me read you a hate comment that I got.
No, don't. What are you doing?
No, I want to see what you think of it.
Don't do that.
No, I want to see what you think.
All right, hit me with it. I'm stoked. This is gonna hurt me too.
It's
like I hope you know.
It's an old patron apparently that used to be a patron.
Really?
They sent
Those
me
are the ones that have the worst comments. Is old fans.
Comment. Let me try to find it.
Is it just like a lack of understanding of like that you're a person or something?
I don't know. I would put it on screen, but I don't want to.
Well, don't blast the person.
Show the person,
yeah.
He goes, I'm sorry, because of the AI NFT stuff. Have you ever seen how much fresh water it uses to cool down GPUs from your part? I had to block you. So that's a sentence, right? I guess because I talked about AI at one point and used it a couple times and said I don't like it. Maybe.
I thought I was gonna say I thought I remembered you not liking AI.
Yeah, and I mean I kind of did a joke thing like written by AI, so maybe that's what he's talking about. But and then NFTs, I kind of play with them, but it doesn't take more power than reading this message on my computer, on certain And so I don't know what he's talking about. But he goes, because of that I had to block you. It's super inhuman, and I'm really sick to my stomach that you chose this route. And you're supposed to be a Christian. Have a nice one. Goodbye. Never want to talk again. So I'm like, none of this makes any sense, but okay. So
Yeah, it
so
sounds
that's
like
what
it
I
sounds like a
think.
misreading. Like they
Yeah,
misunderstood what you did or something. And then
I don't know.
it's also like they it I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions and then say it sounds like they made assumptions. It sounds like
They made assumptions, so
they
yeah,
made
go ahead. We
jumps
can
on
make one if
what
we
they
made one.
No, I
So
don't well that makes me a hypocrite. I don't want to make assumptions, but it sounds like that's what they did. I don't know.
I mean, they have an opinion. We can have an opinion. I have an opinion
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
so it
And they don't
doesn't
have
matter.
to they don't have
I'm
to
not. I'm
support
not
you.
saying.
But
I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I think they're wrong. I am saying they're wrong. For me, it's like, what does it have to do with being a Christian? Like that was kind of like, I think they're probably not a Christian, just trying to make me feel bad about my religion. Is kind of what I'm thinking.
well, I don't know. I mean that's hard to say. I think I don't know, man. I think AI is garbage, but
Mm.
I'm not gonna immediately assume everything that you believe just because you used it once.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That's fascinating.
But anyway, I brought it up because of the like wanting everyone to love me all the time
Mm.
type thing. It's just like at first I was shocked, and I was like, wow, that's um,
You
I
seem
guess I
generally
guess I'm
unscathed.
I guess I'm succeeding in because someone hates me that bad, you know?
Yeah.
Because you kind of got to piss people off in order to just do anything right, it seems like.
I have my own reasons for why I do not like certain things. I don't want to I don't know. I don't want to be presumptuous about other people, and I really, really think that a lot of people, a lot of like, gosh, I hate putting serious stuff on a nice, lighthearted stream like this. So I want to be careful not to open a can of worms here, but I think a lot of the bad conversations that people have, uh, and like the lack of progress in, I don't know, just anything.
Hmm.
A lot of that is attributed to the fact that people just don't want to ask questions and see the other person as a human, you
Yeah.
know? And like I don't want to start a politics conversation, but like in politics, you know, right versus left, pro or anti anything, you like I see so much just immediate vitriol and then no conversation. And
Yeah.
it's like screaming quote unquote good points into the void, and then, people screaming their own points into the void that counteract those. I don't know. It's like there's no actual conversation happening, and like
Yeah.
there's a lot of sarcastic questions and not
Yeah.
like not
Yeah.
actual earnest ones. And I don't know. It's like we have to operate in binary. But whatever.
Yep. So anyway, I got a hate comment. Yay! I think he's
Yeah,
just having a really bad day.
I hope so. I read one bad comment on one of my episodes, and I went, "Uh oh, I shouldn't read any comments anymore at all because I can't work now."
He can't handle it. Yeah. I used to be more affected, but I think I've as my career has kind of evolved publicly, and I've started and stopped doing things, I realized that there's I just can't please people, and so there's a core group of people that like what I'm doing, and man, you just if I was gonna please everybody, my plate would be so full of things to do, because some people want this and that.
Uh-oh.
Everyone wants something different for you, and everyone has an opinion. So now I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I think I've heard enough negativity that I do take it less seriously now.
I wish I could work past that.
It still bothers me, but um, I think honestly, actually, I think that's changed more recently too because of my public um, relationship videos with about me and Joy, and stuff. Like, there's a lot of hate on our YouTube channel. There's a lot of love, but then there's some real haters, like really nasty comments, and um, and it's like eventually I kind of got to where I just don't care to respond anymore because it's like it's a waste of time. But at first it was like I have to respond, and I would respond like in a joking way, like just kind of making fun of myself or something in a lot of ways, or just saying something really stupid and idiotic just to kind of confuse them, and that was kind of fun. But now I'm just kind of like, I don't care, like they're bitter and they're upset, and that's fine. You know, they think I'm doing something wrong or they think I'm stupid or whatever. I don't care. And so because it was so personal, like the attacks were so personal, I think it's kind of made it to where, it like this this one, which would have destroyed me years ago, um, it just doesn't bother me at all. Strangely enough, so I think it's just getting enough of them is bad. Um, like getting enough negative comments makes you have tough skin, obviously. So
Yeah, but I'd be worried that it would embitter me.
it's usually not. It's usually not because of my comic stuff that I get the negative comments. So this one was a new one for it, like really negative about my art, and that was kind of strangely new.
Hmm.
But I think it can embitter you, but what was nice about the negative comments. What was nice about the negative comments with about Joy and I was we would look at them together and we'd either laugh at them or be like, "What in the world are they talking about?" Or, "Well, that's a stupid opinion," you know. And so, kind of like because we were kind of observing it together, I think it made it easier to kind of look past it.
Sure.
And so maybe.
No, I I think that it sounds like you're able to take them in a healthy way. That wasn't meant to be like a you're doing it wrong. It's more like I'm worried that I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not great at like compartmentalizing.
Okay, well, I think part of the reason I'm bringing it up is because you want everyone to love you, you want everyone to see your stuff, but you know that, I mean, and I know you know this, like the more popular you get, the more people are going to hate you too.
Yes, yeah.
So,
That's something
so
I've been aware of.
it's something you'll just have to learn to endure, especially if that is your goal of getting an audience.
It's just a numbers game, right? Like it has that you can't
Yeah.
avoid
You can't avoid it. Yeah, you'll always
that.
piss off someone for just something really dumb, like I took a walk today. How dare you walk? You know,
Yeah.
I can't believe you're so offensive. You know what? I don't know. It's always something. And so
But
you get in the spotlight enough, and there will be a group of people that hate you. But it's
whatever.
but
Like I could objectively say that I can like, oh, but that's that's someone I don't know. They're wrong. It's a terrible opinion. Whatever. I can objectively say those things, but it's very different when somebody goes like, I really don't like the way your face is shaped. And then they go, you look exactly like this, and it's a really good point, and it's something that you've thought for a long time, and you're like, God, I hope nobody ever notices that I look exactly like, you know, I look like a
Say it. For that one.
stupider David Schwimmer or something. But like,
I don't even know who that is. So
as Ross from Friends.
Oh, okay.
But like, it's somebody's going to say something to me, and somebody already has said something really pointed, and I'm like, they're right. That's exactly what I was worried about. For the record, the multiverse thing was not actually did not hurt me. That's from Lissy, the comment from it was fine. I was milking that. That's fine. I'm not actually worried about that. The stuff I am worried about is the things that I really am like, oh no, this sucks. I hope no one notices. Because I can't do anything about it. Either because I don't have time or because I'm not talented enough to fix it, even if I wanted to. But I don't know. I guess my point was just like, sure, yeah, everything you said is right. But also, that doesn't mean I'm going to feel that way in the moment.
Yeah.
You know? It's like when I'm arguing with somebody and then I tell somebody else, like, hey, just take a second, take a deep breath. And then I'm in a fight with somebody and I'm like, I'm not taking a second. They need to hear what I have to say.
Yeah.
I'm an adult when I'm telling other people how to live their lives, and then I'm a child when I'm having an argument with somebody.
Yeah.
Which, avoiding the comments entirely might just have to be my answer. I might just have to not read any of them, which sucks because you miss the good ones. But it's also like, I don't know that I have a choice. I think I just have to.
Are you talking about the comments on Webtoons? Are they negative?
Some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just had to stop reading them. And then I told my friend.
That's how I was with Sithra on Webtoons. I had to stop reading the comments.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I'm so early on, and I already had to stop reading them. Because people were like, somebody was like, I don't know how to put this. People who are going out of their way to be mean, it almost feels cartoonish, and I can be okay with it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that's not real. That's so silly. It's not real. It's the ones that are like when somebody says it as like a matter of fact, where they're like, this one just really doesn't understand what it wants to be. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to pick this up and go any further. And I'm like, okay, thank you. I'll be sure to take that with me to my grave.
From the creator of a comic who didn't understand what he wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
On my gravestone. It's the commenter's profile name, and I'm like, Jimmy 457 believed that I wasn't a very good writer and I didn't know what I wanted to be. 1992 to 2026.
Mm-hmm.
Here lies an idiot. See, this is exactly this comment. Sorry, Lizzie says, I think one of the most offensive comments I ever got was one saying my female character hair looked like a hat and not hair. But what hurt was how politely they said it.
Oh, boy.
Absolutely. Because you're trying to help me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's earnest. And I hate that. It's like when a little kid says something to you. And they're like, wow, did you ever notice how big your nose is? And you're like, get away from me. It's, whatever. My boy did something like that last night. and I had to like. My wife and I were like, shut up. We've been quiet too long.
Uh-oh.
We need to be entertaining all the time.
I'm just thinking, I need to get this done fast. I got to do some editing. I have an event that I'm kind of presenting some stuff at. It's not comic related, but I got to do some editing today too. So I'm like, wait, I need to get going.
When do you got to be out of here?
Oh, I don't. It's not for today, but I need to get it done today. And then my son has a basketball game tonight too at 4, so that's 2 hours from now. But I definitely need to be done before then because I got to eat before that too. So, yeah, food.
I've got a thing with some friends tonight, which is super low stakes, but you know, still friends. You know,
Yeah.
I love them and I want them to love me. The hardest lesson to learn was just learning to stop saying, "Why don't you love me?" I would never word it like that, but I would, what can I do to improve myself? I'd be like, please stop asking that question. How about that? Talking about talking about me not being good enough. Every time I sit down to do thumbnails or storyboards, whatever you want to call them, I think about that story you told about that. Was it like a Barbie commercial or something where you somebody left you for 30 minutes in a room and you had already done the whole commercial or something?
Mm.
And I was like, I think about that a lot. I think about that story and like sitting here staring at one panel and just going, okay, well, I've done the same angle of these characters 17 times in a row. I have made this boring because I'm not good at storyboarding. And then I think of that story and I go, oh, he's so great. He's so talented.
Oh boy.
I'm just not good enough.
I don't think that story would work today because I would just be like, okay, well, you don't think I'm good enough. See ya.
What is it about like being
I was hungry back then?
Yeah. What is it about being like in your 20s and being like, I don't know. It's like the perfect mix of cockiness and not. Where like you go like, yeah, I can do anything, and that makes you make terrible decisions that no sane person would make.
Yeah.
But then also when somebody says, that's not quite good enough, you'd be like, be like, I'll prove them wrong. They're
Yeah.
wrong. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just like, hungry to just get my career started. And so,
Hello, Steve.
hey, Steve, welcome.
I'm still hungry.
My hunger changes. It's like I'm hungry for this, and then I'm hungry for something completely different. you know,
Yeah.
it's not always the same hunger, the same motivations that I had when I was 20.
Look at that decision you made.
What are you talking about?
There's not a damn background in this entire 2-page spread.
Oh yeah,
And
I don't like backgrounds.
look at this hand. Look at this hand that's just no fingers, but I know there are fingers there, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm impressed. I'm
this will
not, for the
probably
record.
this will probably be covered up with word balloons right here. So that's one of the reasons I went so simple on the hand.
It's moments like these where I just interact with people who have been doing things for a long time, and I'm like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing. That's the imposter syndrome, I guess. I don't know, but that's still not. Again, I feel like that's only for people who feel like somebody who's got a career. You know, I don't feel like I have a career. I feel like I could be canceled at any moment.
Well, I don't. There's a lot of times when I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen with this issue, this Phobos book. Like, is the audience going to be there? Um, and it's like, I think if as long as I just finish something, like I think I'll be able to get some money back for my recoup money for my time making it. Like I still feel all that. Every time I put out a book. So, and this time I feel like I'm even more wondering that because I've been kind of silent for so long. You know.
Well, I don't know. I think people. I think people are more patient than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
But I'm also really bad at like doing things on time. I think it's more likely that people are patient for when a project starts, but not patient for while it's going.
Yeah.
Like I can wait for the next book. I can't wait for the next episode. I know that book and episode don't correlate, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's almost like being present online all the time makes people more impatient with you. And maybe that's what I think I've kind of been embracing the idea of like stepping offline and just working. Like I haven't been live streaming hardly at all because I'm just getting work done. And I kind of like it. But then I'm going, okay, well, if I'm not making a presence, then is anyone going to even know that I have something released? I really hate having a Kickstarter and then 2 months later someone emails me, go, I'm your biggest fan and I totally didn't realize you had a Kickstarter. And I'm like, man, I was emailing and blogging and
Yeah,
stuff all
I
the
don't know.
time, you know. So I don't want to not let people know it. I'm doing something.
I think it's, I don't know. I mean, that's why you have like why they talk about it the way they do, like saying like it's a campaign and it's a,
Yeah,
you know, you tackle it in the way that it is, uh, very logistically because it gives you the right effect. I don't know. I'm not trying to talk like some expert here. I'm not good at any of that, but I think it's evidenced at this point that if you waste too much of your time doing, you know, if you can manage to keep a promise, then that's all that matters. You know,
yeah.
like
I think that has a yeah, it does have a lot to do with um, being successful at this stuff is being trustworthy. I would always push the you gotta build trust, you know, and you do it by delivering and following through with your promises,
like
especially when people are giving you money.
yeah, and nobody gets mad at like, well, I don't know. It's never nobody, but uh, usually people don't get mad at like a movie for taking, you know,
Yeah,
2-3 years to be made. It's just that if you say you're going to release it on a certain date and then you don't, then people
yeah,
are like, you know, you're pushing it back.
yeah.
Where is it? Where is it? I can't wait. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and like all the anger with Invincible season 2, where it
Mm-hmm.
was like they did the break in the middle, and who knows what truth there is to what they said, but like they were like, oh, we wanted people to, you know, it's on purpose. We wanted people to build up, you know, we have this mental break or whatever, and everybody was like, we don't want a mental break. You told us it was going to be weekly. Give us the episode, you know,
Yeah,
and that's it. It's just expectations. Like you say it's monthly, then make it monthly. If you say it's
yeah,
weekly, make it weekly. You know,
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
which practice what you preach, right? I'm not doing that. I'm doing a terrible job at that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The scheduling has always been a hard thing for me.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a better choice for me to tell my audience that there is no schedule, you know,
Yeah.
and even though that hurts with building the audience, I think it helps because I'm not breaking that promise.
Yeah. I will
Every
say there's two different kinds of promises though. There's one that's made and there's one that's like that makes itself. Uh, you say one, but if you say, oh, there's no schedule, but then you still manage to release an episode every single week, and then you take a break,
mm-hmm.
you never
Mm-hmm.
said it was going to be weekly, but everybody expected it to be because you kept doing it.
Yeah,
You know, so I don't know if you're too inconsistent, people are going to be like, people are still going to get mad, whether it makes sense or not.
I think only on webtoons.
No way, that works for everything.
I don't know. I guess there will be a percentage of people who are mad, but
Webtoons,
I don't
YouTube,
think
anything that's like post a
I
thing,
don't.
you know.
Yeah,
No, you're wrong and I'm right. Let's have zero discussion about it and yell at each other. How's that sound?
Are you talking to me like we're mad at each other right now?
Yeah, we're pretending. Just get on board with it, man.
I don't agree.
Great. Well, at least we're on the same page.
When I'm right. Oh boy. I'm trying
You
to
know
figure
what?
out if I should have these backgrounds be white, like completely white. Like, I like how this page has white behind, but the previous pages were kind of more like in a shadowy room.
Is there a story
But
reason?
there's not really a reason in the story. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be white, or it doesn't have to be shadowy. This kind of works because it's white, but then oh sorry, this this works I think because the white is kind of like it's dark within the panels, but then to show you what it's actually like inside the room, which is dark, but then outside of the panels it's just white. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it doesn't.
I'm going with that. Yes, I'm right.
My bad. I was about to have an opinion.
Oh jeez.
I completely forgot what we were doing.
I just need to add a little bit more blowout on it since we're going white with a white background.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about black and white comics. There's a lot more freedom to do stuff like that.
I really enjoyed black and white. I do enjoy doing color and but it's so much harder to get to solve the problems with color.
I hate color. I wish I didn't have to do it anymore. It sucks. It looks bad every time I do it. Have I told you I suck at drawing? Have I told you I'm bad at this? I keep.
No,
I tried to say. Shut up. I flip flop on a daily basis. Like one day I'll wake up and I'm like, my God, I am amazing. Has anyone ever been as good as me? And then like maybe even the same day I'm like, what a joke. Who do I think I am? And then I'll eat a sandwich and I'll be like, it's not that bad. You know, I'm pretty good. This is manic. It's manic depressive disorder, right? Like,
appreciate the comment. The comment, Steve. Oh, here, I'll leave it on screen if people want to see it. I have too many stories to tell, so whether I'm a writer or a writer artist, I will get them all out. I feel the same way. I feel like I've been saying this for a long time, but I'm favoring the idea of writing some stories and trying to have other artists do them, just to kind of get the stories out, because I don't feel like I have a huge amount left that are like that I've been thinking about most of my life, but I have a few bit more big ones that if I do it, it would take me 5 years, and I'm like, I don't know, do I want to do that or do I want to hire someone to do that? But then again, you gotta pay money to hire someone, so who knows?
Yeah, and that's the dream for me, just to hire people.
Yeah. I do have one project that a friend of mine is working on. He's been working on it for a couple of years now, and we're almost to the point where we're going to try to launch a Kickstarter for the first volume, and it'll be interesting to see how people react to me just writing something.
Well, I'm interested to see it. See where you go with it.
Yeah.
had to fire me. Just a whole stream of like, you know what you should have done? You should have invited me on. We title this stream "Boy I Suck," and we just spend the whole time really listening to me crap on myself. And then tomorrow you do another stream, and you title it "Stop Crying, Get to Work," and then I'm like, I'm amazing. It could be like a whole little arc.
Late. I'm just trying to write. I need to write controversial titles so that people will click, but then they'll click off when they realize it's not really a controversy.
Whatever. That's how clickbait works.
Yeah, but then YouTube will stop recommending everything I make. Well, I guess they already have, so because
I was gonna say, you got nothing to lose, man.
The channel doesn't grow anymore.
We won't push you because
I need to turn my channel into a Trump channel. Then it'll get the views.
I like that doesn't specify if you hate or love him.
I like Trump.
Do you?
I do.
Well, let's not do this.
But I don't care what people think. I've never really said much online, but
I don't want to start this conversation.
Well, you don't have to. I mean, I don't want to marry him. I'm not gay. I just
No, I just
not what I mean by I like him. I don't want to be his friend.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want him to write my comics.
I don't want him to be president. There we go.
Let's see. How do I want to do this? I think everywhere you go, after traveling to the Philippines and hearing Joy talk about the different political sides there, I just realized wherever you go, it's all going to be the same no matter where you go. It's just power, fighting for power. And the best thing is to just check out and mind your own business and do your own thing and not, that, in my opinion, it's like, I don't want to participate. I don't want to, I just want to have a little piece of property and do my thing, have a dog, have a family and whatever. So,
I think that I would really like to be able to do that. And I wish I was capable of that currently, and I'm not. I think it's nice to think that way, and at some point, for certain people, it ends up being that you can't do that because certain decisions are made for you.
Yeah,
you're put in a position where you either let bad things happen or you do something,
Yeah. And that's my thing. I would rather just go away from government stuff, because I don't want government telling me what to do and controlling anything. And
yeah,
I would if I could live in a place where there was no government.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
It doesn't exist, So
yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. I don't have a problem with that conceptually. I think it has. I don't know. I think it has problems just because it's like if it runs on the presupposition that all people are going to make the right decision.
Oh yeah, well,
and it doesn't really.
That's not ever going to happen.
Yeah. So like on the one hand, if it was a society of me's and you's, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would think there would not really be a need for government because it would just be, we could easily operate under the presupposition that both of us, that the two kind of people, the Jasons and the Fuzzies, would all be kind to one another and do the right thing and whatever.
Yeah.
the reason you have laws and rules and ordinances and things is because that's not the case, and that's not how it works, and people suck. Some people suck, right? And I think I'm frustrated. I find myself aggravated because I feel like I can't be what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I do too. Like, that's what I think everyone kind of longs for, is the simplicity and just having their own autonomy,
Yeah.
you know? And I think everybody wants that, but it's very hard to get it.
And I don't know. And I don't know how. I think I said it earlier. I said some form of it earlier. Like, I guess we're just doing it. We're just having a political conversation. When people talk about politics, especially lately,
Yeah.
people
Sorry.
are
I'm not laughing at you.
no. It's all good.
Joy's going to try to sabotage my focus.
Do it.
Okay, go ahead.
What was I saying? Oh, just like everybody gets. I'm mad at basically everyone.
Mm-hmm.
For very different reasons.
Yeah.
I have a great many reasons why I don't like Trump, and I think he's a really bad dude.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to ask you to be. I'm not going to get like all pissed at you and be like, "How could you?"
Yeah.
Because that is the reason I'm really mad at people on the left.
Yeah.
It's as much as I definitely believe he's a bad guy, like personally, and I have reasons why I think that.
Yeah.
I think every single right-leaning person who likes Trump has had zero good conversations with left-leaning people. They have seen no respect from a Democrat or a Democratic voter or any, like, it's all just, it's none of it's like, oh, why do you believe that? Why do you think that? Or what do you, what made you feel the way that you do? Oh, I see why that would make you think that way. It's none of that. It's all when somebody says I like Trump, the immediate response from a left-leaning person is, I didn't know you were the devil.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well, hold on. Let's take a step back. Let's ask some questions. Let's have a conversation instead of immediately giving up on that person.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Separately, I would love to have a conversation with you about it, but also that's the other flaw, I think, in the political conversations lately, is just like, it all has to happen right now. And if you don't agree with me, we're cutting ties,
Yeah.
Like, boy, that's not remotely how you make a better society.
Yeah. I don't really care how people believe and vote. I feel like I don't understand some people's decisions, but living in California, like, I was surrounded by people who just thought almost differently on almost every point of view I had, and there was a small group of people that I could relate to, but even with them, it's not like I would hang out with them more than people that didn't see the same way as me. So to me, it's like, are you a nice person? And if you're nice, and then I'll be nice to you,
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what determines if I want to run away from someone. So if they politically are just so, like, vicious all the time, then I want to run away from whatever side they're on.
Yeah.
But I definitely have an opinion, and I definitely, I feel like I've I feel like I've been convinced to be quiet about it for most of my time online, but I don't know. I don't know if it matters anymore. But
I
I also don't want to be like a political channel either, so I don't care.
No, and I don't
You
think you
know,
necessarily should force that.
yeah. like
I
like
think
the like Doug Knable. I think it's funny that he's all politics now. But he enjoys it
yeah,
and he does a good job at it, and
sure.
and he has strong opinions. You know,
And
and it works for him. And so he doesn't really do comics anymore at this point. I think he wants to go back to it eventually when it fizzles out, but
mhm.
I don't know. I don't know what his plan is long term.
Yeah, I don't think.
Mm.
I don't know. You said an interesting thing there of like, I I don't care how you vote, as long as you're a good person. And I
Or nice.
think
Let me just say nice. I don't think many people are good people, right?
interesting. That's an interesting
Right?
statement.
Myself included. There's I've have things that I don't feel like are good in me, and so I can't I can't judge people. If I judge people based on me, then
Mhm.
there's some
Yeah,
problems there.
I do.
But
But
someone
you're saying as
someone
a
being
person who's gonna make good decisions, or a person who's going to do their best to be kind, right?
yeah, be kind, be nice, be
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
loving. Like if you have those characteristics, I support. I don't support you and your everything you believe in, but I will be friendly with you, and I will have your back, and in certain ways, you know,
Hmm.
and but I don't have to understand who you are. But if there's certain things that are just cruel about you and unkind or taking advantage of others people's, I want to get as far away from me as possible, you know? And maybe I don't know that about my neighbor who comes over to me and is nice. And so I'm like, okay, I'm nice. But if it ever came to a point where I'm like, oh my goodness, I he's very cruel, I didn't realize that, then I'll distance myself. And so that's just kind of how I look at it.
Yeah,
And
and I'm curious too because I think there's like an uppercase K kind and a lowercase K kind, right? Like if you're if you're kind to someone in small interactions, like interacting with your favorite person, or someone you don't know at a grocery store or something. But then there's also like generalized kindness and what you're doing to make the world better. Like obviously that's uh, those kinds of decisions are going to be made by people who have power over people,
mm,
like a boss or something, right? Is going to be more capable of doing the uppercase K kind, right? Because they're like able to enforce rules and make logistical decisions about how a company runs so that they go
yeah,
so that people aren't encouraged to be evil, or something like that. But
yeah,
like if you say like, oh, as long as you're a kind person, I'll interact with you, but then like that person uh gosh, I'm trying to be unspecific so that I can
yeah.
uh make the idea of what I'm saying more important, but I feel like an example is necessary. Um, uh, what's a really ridiculous example that doesn't exist? That might be helpful. Like if a person says they like chocolate cake and you don't like chocolate cake, right?
Hmm.
Then that's a difference of opinion, right? And that's something that a person you can say like, well, I don't. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
agree with you, but that doesn't mean I have to do anything different. But like if that person starts to force other people to eat that cake, right?
hmm hmm
Then it becomes like a uppercase K kindness where you're not. It's no longer about that. It's about being like, gosh, this is the hardest thing in the world to like because like the moment you dip into specificity in these types of topics, it starts to go into like identity stuff where
Mm.
you're no longer talking about the thing itself. You're talking about like, oh, because I've attributed myself to this thing, uh, I have to believe what all these other people believe too. So like I
Yeah.
try to when I get esoteric like this, I try not to bring in specific examples because it messes up the argument. Um, but like a person who's being kind in a conversation, that
Yeah.
person might be kind in that moment, but they might not be kind in a moment where they're,
Yeah. Well,
you know,
sure. It's the wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
sure.
You can be fake. You can be kind to get what you want and manipulate people. Well, as soon as I learn that a kind person is lying and manipulating to me, then that's their fruit, and that's what I look at, right?
Well,
You
but
can judge a tree by their fruit, and so to me, it's a lot simpler than than a lot of the world makes it into,
yeah,
and there's just certain people that when I see their fruit, I avoid them. I don't give them any more time. I run away from them. And you can call me judgmental. I don't care. I will just avoid them at all costs because I see bad fruit, you know? And so that's the way I look at it.
mm-hmm.
And that's
I
why I live alone, and I don't talk to anyone. No, I'm just joking.
no, I mean, I will say I've had a weird like, I don't know if I would call it the opposite of what you're saying, because like when I was in I've always kind of been loudly outspoken.
Yeah.
So in some ways I've gotten uh, more aggressive, and in other ways I've gotten much quieter. Like when
Yeah.
it comes to interacting with other people, I don't outwardly call someone stupid. I used to just say that stuff to people all the time and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, so you're an idiot," and like just talk extremely rude in the way that I would like be judgmental to people.
Yeah.
Um, and so I try not to do that anymore because I just saw that it bore no fruit, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, aside from the fact that it's mean, but like, also I would I had the thought, or I had the I would call it knowledge of like how the electoral college worked and stuff.
Mm.
And in high school, I was like, oh, so there's absolutely no point in voting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I kind of had that
And
opinion before too. Like it
I don't
doesn't.
feel that way anymore. I still kind of do. Like I understand that the percentage is a little ridiculous, and like
Yeah.
my vote is, because I'm from Missouri, my vote is a little more than some places and less than others, and like so dumb. I still think that that's infuriatingly stupid.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, I think the electoral college is just a frustrating part of our structure. But I, so like I'm more active in the way that I actually vote now, but I'm also less aggressive in the way that I try not to be a jerk when I talk to people.
Mm.
And I don't know. I mean, this is all fascinating to me talking to you about this because I
Yeah.
see you as
We've never really discussed it on this channel.
yeah. Well, and in fairness, with we've kind of made that a point not to do that, right? Because like
Yeah.
I think without directly saying it, I think you and I have kind of voiced a not disgust, but just a distaste for like how other comic channels have
Yeah.
changed into political or
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
crypto stuff or whatever. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
if they want to do that, that's totally fine. That's up to them.
Yeah.
But we also were like, we're in this for the comics.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also think like I can be in this for the comics and still have a conversation about it. You know?
Yeah.
But it is fascinating to learn where you're at and like see how that viewpoint affects things. And I
Yeah.
think that there's still something to be said for like our differing opinions, but I also don't want to stop hanging out with you. You know? And I don't want this to be the end of the conversations, but I also don't want to. I think that, like, not to directly, like, I don't know. I think it's okay for us to say the other person's wrong, right? Because I'm not going to make you feel like an idiot for thinking one way or another. But I also, like,
I've been told I'm wrong all my life by people, so
Well, sure, but it's about how you say they're wrong, right? Like, if you just go, I don't agree with that, actually. I think that's, I think I feel this way about it because of this, as opposed to, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Which is not helpful remotely. Just makes somebody back further into a corner, or do what you said and go, I guess I just won't interact with you at all anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really isn't like, I just want to make sure it's not about having a different opinion that makes me not want to interact. It's right. Really just about primal, like, basic general things that a person would do, like cruel behavior versus kind behavior,
Yeah. And everybody has a line too. Like,
yeah. And I just, I don't want it to influence me. I don't want to be around certain things. And, everyone has a right to have their opinion of what they want to be around and what they want to not be around.
Yeah.
And
so I think that instinct is completely natural. And it makes sense. Because, like, I don't know, we avoid bad just on, like, on a like animalistic level, right? Like, we're just like, well, I don't want bad in my life. So that's not weird to me to hear you say that. I think that makes complete sense. But also, it's like, if you want to see bad stuff less and you don't do anything about it, that's also, like, I don't know, there's an aspect of mitigating the amount of bad that's in your life by not interacting with it.
Yeah.
But also, if you see cruelty and you don't do anything about it, then you're also kind of responsible for it still existing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean,
you don't have to be buddies with that person.
When you walk outside, do you see something cruel happening? You can respond to it. It's like, that's where I think people need to keep their mindset on, right? It's like, am I helping my neighbor? Not am I going on Twitter and venting about some guy I've never talked to before.
Sure, but if you vote, to be clear, having a conversation with someone you don't know is not the same thing as having a conversation with, like, your dad or something, right? Like, or your neighbor, like you said, like somebody you interact with on a regular basis. First of all, you're much more likely to convince them of something to begin with, right?
Yeah.
But also, like, it's weird and, like, not your job to convince somebody that's, like, has nothing to do with your life on a daily basis. So I get what you're saying. I think, like, understanding that there's a difference is,
and that's the thing. Like, if my mindset was like, I do want to run for mayor and change laws and do that stuff, like, that's a completely different thing. That's a different person. Like, I would be a different person doing that. Like, my outreach is really it's been through my comics, through my art. Like, I will tell people the message I want to try to convey to them. I will try to say things that I feel like are the truth through my comics in some way, mix it in there, and impact people that way. And then just now, like, since going to the Philippines and stuff, and my wife and I have started this, like, it's not official, but we're doing these charity things where we raise money and we buy school supplies and hike up these mountains and give it to these remote schools where they just have absolutely nothing. They're just living in dirt. And so it's like, they've never even seen an outsider, and then they don't have anything, they don't have shoes. And it's like, it's changed my perspective on a lot of things in life. Just how, like, you can make an impact on the people that you can actually reach out and touch, and it's a lot different than like I feel like I want to focus on the things that I can do, not the things that I wish I could do but I can't. You know, like
Yeah,
affecting this massive change in America or the Philippines or wherever in the world. You know, like I'm going to protest this by going out on the road and holding up signs. I don't think that's going to change anything, but I think helping kids that don't have anything and physically doing it myself, that actually changes that kid's life, you know?
yeah,
And so that's kind of the thing. I think there's a certain amount of stuff that's a waste of time to spend all of our time focusing on it
yeah,
when there's someone right next to you who you can physically help or mentally help or
yeah.
monetarily help or something.
I
And
completely agree. I think if you're having a like like the protesting thing, great
yeah,
example. I think that's basically uh, for the most part. I think it's not as helpful as people
yeah.
want to believe it is, and I don't.
But but they believe, like you were saying, they're standing up to some horrible injustice, you know, and in their minds they are.
And I don't know. In some case, like we look across history, there are examples of things that were atrocities
Yeah.
that should be protested, no matter what form that protest takes, right? But
Yeah.
like, I think it's the case of like being too close to it.
Yeah.
Oftentimes that we're like, is this really worth protesting? And the people who are very strongly convinced of that are, of course, going to say, yeah, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And the people who are like, I don't know, are going to be looked at poorly because they don't know, because they're not taking action. And
Yeah.
I think that no matter what happens, you have to take responsibility for what comes of things, right? Like, if things go wrong, I love you. Watching you take an hour to put this whole body in shadow is killing me.
I,
I
I
love you
don't
so
know.
much.
I
This is
don't know what I want.
destroying me.
I don't know what I want to do with it.
I'm watching you like do every layer of shadow and then just be like, never mind.
Nope. Yeah.
It's
Nope.
all
Not
going
gonna
in
work.
shadow. Sorry, back to what I was saying. It's an unmistakable thing. We have, no matter what percentage it is, you have some form of responsibility that comes with like what happens, what comes of things. So like, yeah, my vote doesn't matter as much, but like the knowledge that I did vote a certain way, you know,
Yeah.
I have to know that how I voted at least somewhat means something, right? Like I don't know. The way the system works means that if I do nothing, I've made a choice, and if I did something, then I made a choice.
Yeah.
And I want to be, I don't know, I want to have made the right decision. And I want to at least have the ability to look back on the decision and accurately assess whether or not I did. Because even if I messed up, I want to be able to say to myself that I did mess up, and like not pretend like I did the right thing. If I not lie to myself, at least,
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to something like politics, it gets so messy
Yeah.
that like I think doing nothing, I can at least say to myself, is the wrong choice now,
Yeah.
and I should have voted before. But I can also say that hyper obsessing and creating enemies out of everyone is also the wrong choice.
Yeah.
And like protesting is not a bad thing, but the way you protest, the way you argue, the way you put your points across does matter.
Yeah.
And it's not just I don't know.
I'm not a big fan of protesting and the way that it's been done. I think my protest is I will do things personally within the world that I can touch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think man is built to be able to see what's going on around the whole entire world all at once on their phone and see the problem of every society. You know, it turns everyone into a protester who doesn't do anything within their own sphere of influence.
Yeah, and I think that's
That's what I think. So that's why I'm kind of just like I just want to go away and have my place, and then go help find the little places where I can reach and touch and help people. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And
I agree. I think that's I completely agree with what you're saying. I think that
for the most part of my life, it was or the last 10 years, it's been comics. Like I'm gonna make an impact on this world through comics, through the people who read comics, however I can. You know, it may not be changing politics or anything like that or laws, but I can at least kind of reach out to people through this in the best way I can. You know, I'm using the tools I've been given, and
use your voice in the way that it works best, right?
Yeah, use my voice the way I can actually use it. Mm-hmm.
I want to. I don't know. There is a certain degree of like screaming into the void that like I don't know. Everybody gets taken to a place that they wouldn't necessarily normally go when they get angered by something. Yeah. And I've definitely about completely unimportant non-political things. I've been like pushed to comment something, so, you know, start an argument on a YouTube video or something, like in the comment section, and I'm like, what am I doing? Almost immediately, I'm like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Why am I wasting my time? But you get pushed to it sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, but he said a dumb thing, and I want to tell him.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, the other thing too is like all the lies, you know?
Yeah.
Like how much of, because like even just what you said, right, where it's like we're not built to have this much information.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that, and also that doesn't even factor in the fact that people are just like lying all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Lying or twisting or
whatever.
You know?
And like I say, manipulation and lying is like, as soon as I feel like I'm a victim of that, I'll just be like, I don't even want to fight anymore or talk anymore. I just want to go far away from you, whoever it is, you know? And so it's like, and it's fine. Go lie, do your thing. I don't care, you know? I'll just watch. I don't have to, I don't have to interact. I'll just go and pet my dog. This is me in my mind, you know, because I don't have a dog, but ideally, like, that's how I'd like to be able to handle it, you know?
Yeah. So, I just want to see people be kind again and stop treating each other like garbage.
Yeah.
I know that's such a such a general statement that means almost nothing, but like it's like physically tiring.
Everyone's definition of, I mean, when people start changing the definition of every word out there, it's like, what is kindness now? It's different to different people now. And then they have wars over it. So I don't know what to tell you. My version of kindness is basically what I get from the Bible. So I'm like, I feel like I can hold on to that. And people are like, oh, it's old. It's religion. Oh, they've killed more people than anyone. I don't, I'm sorry. I just disagree. So that's where I come up with my definitions of things. And that's where, and so that's, if the whole world is on that, fine. I'll go and pet my dog and live by myself.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way I look at it. So, but I think definitions have been changed so much that it makes everyone confused about what they're even arguing about now.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, words change. So like language evolves. We've done that for forever, right? But like
Mm-hmm.
it's the expectation of that comes with it that bothers me. It's like,
It,
okay,
well,
yeah, but
language,
that just changed. Don't get mad at me for not knowing,
yeah,
or yeah, just changing
word
it for yourself.
words changing is that's normal. But when you change words that were written down hundreds or thousands of years ago to mean something different, that's they didn't mean that, and so
I mean,
I just
it
don't
was
think
written
it's.
in it wasn't written in English.
Yeah, well, it depends on what you're referencing. Like if you're
I
talking
just
about
assumed you're still
scripture, or
talking
if
about
you're
the
talking
Bible.
about if you're talking about founding fathers documents, like Old English is even completely. We wouldn't even hardly understand it probably if we heard it.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but that doesn't mean what was actually written was was new terms. It's like if we change the term, every single definition of every one of those words, it still means what it meant back then. We've just changed the definitions, and then we have wars over it.
Yeah.
I don't know if war is the right words, but we just fight over it. So
It's I language is weird, and the more I learn about language, the more I'm like, I get weirdly like, well, I get really flip floppy, which is not surprising at all because that's me. But like, I go between being angry at people for changing definitions to
mhm,
being like, yeah, but all words change all the time, and I'm like, nobody can, keep a. I'm very inconsistent, but like, it's frustrating when people are like, I don't know. I think the thing that makes me angry is people being inconsistent, which is such a hypocritical thing to say. But like, I'm bothered by the idea of like, if you have a rule, then stick to that rule, or if we have a rule as a society, then let's keep with that. But like, it's the changing and not being consistent with each other, and then like expecting everybody to just be on board with you,
yeah,
even though no one's made that decision together, and like I don't know, like
yeah. Well, that's the problem when man makes up their definition of everything and morality and what rules should be enforced and shouldn't be. You know. I
yep.
mean, I'm old school. I'm like I'll look at the Bible and like I know that there's a lot of controversial things in the Bible, but hey, I'm sorry. That's what I think. God knows what He's doing.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
you like even that, right? Like if you have a conversation with someone who's not Christian and you don't
No.
you want to convince them of something, but you also you don't expect them to be convinced of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Christianity. You have to tackle it from another angle, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to go, okay, how do I explain to this person that this is a good thing
Yeah.
outside of the logic of just trust in God, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to respect. I don't know. I have a general interest in respecting everybody, regardless of if they're Christian or not, right?
Yeah.
And respect isn't the
If
same
if
thing
they're
as
if
like,
they're nice, I will respect them. If they're, what I'm
yeah,
saying. So
that
I don't I
even
don't
that
have to
word.
I don't have to respect anyone, but you
No,
can earn it, and if you're nice, then
I don't know.
yeah.
That's a tough one because like respect. I'm having as I get older, I realize that my internal definitions of things aren't necessarily what everybody's operating on.
Hmm.
So like you said, people are
And
changing definitions, and I think some people, you and me included, like
yeah,
learn a word through context
yeah,
and don't have the realization that we did that.
yeah,
And so we go, kindness means what it's always meant. And then you
yeah.
realize, well, actually, I don't know if that I.
Well, that's why I say go back to. For me, I go back to the scripture, and you're like, you can find the originals, and you can find the definitions of things, and
Sure, but even in that respect, like people have, what do you call it? Have translated the Bible in different ways, and not like
yeah, but
to
that's
to
that's
heavy degrees,
that's a
but like
translation. Yeah,
But that's what I'm saying is if you're translating current Hebrew versus Hebrew from thousands of years ago, you're left with the difficult but necessary question of what did they mean back then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and that's not as easy to answer. That question's harder to answer, I think, than even a lot of Christians want to admit. It's a tough question.
The thing about what is love, like, it's not really a gray area. It's like love is patient, love is kind.
Well, you say that, but
a record of wrongs. Like that's just it's not really. You don't have to battle over what that means, you know.
But the follow-up question to that is if you're talking about the Bible, right?
Yeah.
The Bible was translated from one language from two languages to our one language, right? So already you're having a disconnect between what the Hebrew portions of the Bible and the Greek portions of the Bible said, right? And that's just tough to begin with, right? But also, like, you have to, if you deal with the one language, I want to say Hebrew was the one, but I might be thinking of Greek, where there were multiple words where we. Sorry.
I
don't want to interrupt.
It's okay. You can take a shower.
But there were there were multiple words that were translated into love, right? So like brotherly love, romantic love, relational love. And so you go, it's simple. Love is patient, love is kind. Well, which love is that one?
Yeah.
You know, is that brotherly love?
To the original. You look to the Greek and what the definition of those words are. I think you can take a real shallow approach to it and say, we don't know, you know.
Oh no, and that's not.
But if you dig and you look, I don't think it's unclear. I think it's extremely clear, and I think it's us changing definitions because we want to.
Yeah,
which makes the battles happen. And I think having the multiple languages only helps clarify the meaning of it because you have multiple languages that things were written in, and they help inform each other. You know,
I agree. I think what you're saying is right. I think the issue comes in when it's moving away from an expert to a layman who won't necessarily ask the questions.
Yeah.
I think
right there with you.
I think the normal person isn't going to ask the questions, and that sucks. But I don't know that I would attribute that to an evil person. I think that's just that's just a person being a person. Your instinct isn't necessarily to ask a question and to question everything, right? Because like you want to trust automatically, and especially when we put trust in the people who are teaching us, like pastors and stuff, where you go, well, I'm inherently trusting you because you're a pastor, so I'm going to trust what you tell me is true. And we forget pastors are people and they're capable of saying the wrong thing. I remember I listened to a pastor give a speech at a college for preachers, and he was like giving advice about how when he was a young preacher, he thought that he was going to be giving a brand new sermon every single time he got up on stage. And then he's like, I ran out so fast. He goes, I was sitting there I was like 2 days away from giving the sermon. I didn't know what to do. And I got this advice from an older pastor who was like, dust off one of your old ones. Take out all the lies. And it was nice to hear that from a pastor's mouth, because it's very difficult to admit that that's something that you would do. That a younger version of you would accidentally or even accidentally have said something wrong, you know?
Yeah.
And the idea is we're all human. We're all going to accidentally say something bad, say something incorrect. And not everybody's going to sit down and read the whole Bible. Not everybody's going to sit down and read, psychological studies and all the crazy stuff that's quote unquote necessary to operate in everyday life. And I think linguistics and studying Greek and Hebrew enough to where you can understand the Bible in how it was originally intended, that's a big ask for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Well, yeah. But you're trying to solve the world's problems, and so that's a big ask too.
Yeah.
So like, what do people want? Do they want to solve their problems, or do they want to just not? Like, to solve a big problem, you have to do a lot of work, I would think. And so, but I think it just comes back down to like, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. I just think it comes back down to more of a personal touch, more of a, and that's what I believe is the truth. So that's what I believe is going to heal the world. And so I think all this other stuff is kind of running around in circles. And my conviction is that in understanding these old truths, the wisdom God has given us, then through that is what will solve the problems of man. And you have to do it on a personal level more than anything. You have to do it with your neighbor,
Yeah. But I think
and your family.
I think that's true. But I think if you do that, if you only do that, then you lose the aspect which is like so like certain parts of the world, your leader is your leader and you don't get to choose how your government operates.
Yeah.
Right. But currently, at least, we still have a democracy, right?
Yeah.
And with that comes the fact that you have some responsibility to how the leadership operates. And so someone having a voice on that, someone making decisions for the collective is gonna have to play a part. And I think it's much less of a part than people want to make it out to be.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I just think governments is what Revelation was talking about, the beast system.
Mm-hmm.
Because we want to serve a government instead of serve a God. And that is what causes all the problems, is we want to make our own rules. And so I don't put the weight on the government as much. And like yeah, I vote, but if God wants a country to fall, then God's going to make it fall. Like every country in history. Well, a lot of countries, big empires have crumbled, and they had their political systems, and a group of them thought they were doing the right thing, and they were battling and whatever. And then it was destroyed in a way that they didn't expect. So I really think it's more just I just go back more to scripture than I think. I'm just going back to scripture more than I think you're comfortable with me doing, because that to me is just the answer. And so like whoever I voted for is like, I don't know if they're going to do anything right or wrong. It's more like, what's God going to do with this country? That's my question. Like, I wonder what God's going to do with America in 20 years. I wonder what God's going to do with the Philippines. These are the two countries I'm curious about, because I live in them. So that's more my concern than thinking I can change anything politically. I know that's probably a bad way to look at it, but I know I have a little bit of a voice, and so I can cast a vote. And but
I think
at the end of the day, it's in God's hands, and in order to understand what's wrong with society, we can find out by things like Scripture, and Revelation, I think, is a really nice clue of the cycle of the beast system, which I think is governments. I mean, and of course, that's
Yeah.
the way I interpret it and look at it. But you know,
First of all, I don't have a problem with you going back to Scripture at all.
yeah,
I think it's just it's not about Scripture being bad. It's about how we use it and how we look at it, right? So, like,
yeah,
if you're using it as an I don't know. It's one of the reasons I have a problem with certain politicians is that they want to use the Bible as a tool,
yeah.
and that's really frustrating because it's like you're sullying my belief system just to get more votes. So that's frustrating.
Yeah. If it's done as a wolf in sheep's clothing, I agree. But I do want Scripture in the Bible in my government. You know what I'm saying? I just want it to be done in an accurate way and in a way that's honest.
That does seem a bit inconsistent. You're saying you want
I think governments, well, I don't think governments can really fully comply, because it means they stop existing and they just worship God, right?
Sure,
which they're never going to do. They're just never going to do. But getting closer to that is better than just running for more government and just government is our savior.
No, and I agree. I think, I don't know. It sounds like on one end you're talking about kind of what they would call libertarian, right? Where you're like, less government is better.
Yeah.
But like,
I don't know if that would be what I'd be called.
I don't know.
If that's what it is, then that's what I would probably be for.
Christian libertarian is I don't know. There's got to be labels for everything, man. I think one time somebody called me a centrist, and I was like, why? What did I do? What did I say?
What did I do?
Well, because they were saying it as like a pejorative, and I was like, I'm not sure. I didn't understand what I had said that made me that. But then I've also been called other things that don't apply to centrism. So I'm like, okay, I actually don't know what I am.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I am, and I'm not sure anybody else does. So I'm not trying to put labels on you. I'm just trying to, I guess, talk.
I'm kind of the same way. I don't like labels as much. But
yeah, I think you've got an interest to stay clear of like bad, you just want people not to suck, and I think that's generally the consensus of most people. Is they're like, I don't want that either, and I think it's just like the definition of suck is different for other people.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And you go back to the Bible and you think like, and like something about growing up, you're like, oh, it's all clear, and I think we realized, or at least I've realized recently, it's like so many things that I thought were simple seemed simple because I was a kid.
Yeah.
And things are getting
more
complicated, not because they become more complicated, but because I just didn't understand them as well when I was younger.
Yeah. Or you just understood it because a teacher or a religious teacher told me what
they wanted me to think.
Oh, that's what it means. And then you're like, later on, you're like, that still doesn't make sense. And then, you find out a different perspective, or, I've changed my opinions on even how to handle Scripture. Late in my life, just within the last 10 years.
And we'll keep changing. That's the thing too. It's like, I'm not the me I'm going to be in 10 years. And I'm okay with that. I'm fine with it. But like, it is interesting.
I'm going to have to go.
Absolutely.
Off, but we're going to have to eat, and then we got to run to a basketball game. So,
well, hey,
but this was fun though. I appreciate
it was good talking to you.
Yeah,
I'm so happy we could have a good, kind conversation about this.
Yeah.
That didn't end in me going, I'm never talking to you again.
We'll see if you come back to the next stream.
Yeah, of course. I mean, assuming I'm not busy.
No excuses.
I'm busy every time now.
All right. We'll see you guys. Thanks for watching us and participating. And text and chatting. I'll have to go back and read all the comments in the chat.
Hopefully, we're not too political every time anymore now.
Yeah, well, you don't have to be ever again if we don't want to.
Well, who knows? I
right.
love you, dude.
Well, yeah, love you too. See you guys, and talk to you soon. Oh, is it